It's 6 weeks of spoopy, y'all. Welcome in. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We've been saving this one for these 6 weeks. I'm very excited. I'm going to say this several times during stream. Shout out Creek Native Girl for consulting with me and helping me. I appreciate you. How's everybody doing? I know a Belinda is still live. I had to peel myself out of there, and I'm like, fuck, I got to do my own stream. With this is a Belinda Stan channel, and the Raven Star Complaint Department has responded to her. I'll be reading that bitch's letter to me on my live tomorrow. Oh my god, let me say hi to everybody. Raven loves Crunchy Cock, aka Creek Native Girl. It's not butter. Crunchy Cock is supposed to be country crock. There's a whole thing, there's a whole lore behind it. It's not butter. And now I'm getting confused in chats because people are calling her Raven, and I'm like, well, I didn't say anything. Oh no, it's the other me. She's my doppelganger. Ooh, that'd be a good stream topic too. Doppelgangers, huh? That'd be fun. My Sarah K, Irma Gerd, Share Bear, how you doing? Jessica MG, Diff, Hammy, aka Franken Beans, and Sarah Locklear, Kate Winslet, you goddamn legend, you. How you doing? Why does my like tab down button on my laptop suddenly doesn't want to work? This is an issue. I'm your Luigi board. Speaking of Luigi slash Waluigi, I have this picture of Nags with like the Waluigi, like with his bald head with Waluigi eyebrows and mustache. I'm gonna make after this stream, I'm gonna make that if I have room, I'm gonna make that a members emoji because it's just funny and I need another one. And for my members, thank you so much for being a member. You will notice we have emotional support tacos. And Chelsea Lee Art is back. Picked a different one as well as your usual ones. Yeah, shout out Illyria Sand for making that. Harmony in Life. I don't want to miss anybody. Diff, I think I said you. If not, hey girl. Hey girl, hey. So I'm sure more people will come in, but you know we love a small, cozy crowd over here for our spoopy, weird streams. If you missed last night's members only, Spoopy Burbs and above, please check that out. I think this Thursday we'll be doing another MEMBIRBS only. I'm not sure what I want to do it on, but I'll come up with some ideas and maybe like do a poll. It's going to be a good time. So we've got this Friday and next Friday for 6 weeks of spoopy. I'm still going to be here on Fridays with Freaky Friday. This isn't all the time thing on this channel, right? Not just Halloween, but we amp it up for the spoopy season. Feel free to send me whatever you want on the Discord, Diff. I only have so many slots available. I think I am 4 members away from getting more emoji slots unlocked. Last time I checked. It's weird how YouTube and the Creator Studio kind of like lists everything, but it's whatevs. We're having fun. We're doing good. So we have this week and next week. Tonight, we are talking about something I've been saving. The Wendigo. Next week, we're going to be talking about Skinwalkers, Skinwalker Ranch, and I'm going to have a very special guest up here with me. And it's going to be some intense research this week. I have a playlist I need to go through. It's going to be good. And then on Halloween, we're going to be here like a Halloween party. I'm just going to come and hang out and find some stuff to play. And we're going to look into the origins of Halloween, what it means, the implications of it. I'd like to find videos on like how different cultures throughout the world celebrate it, particularly like in Mexico with the Day of the Dead being on November 1st. And yeah, so it's going to be fun. Probably just hang out and be here because I don't get any trick or treaters and I don't go out. So, we're just going to hang out. No. Hey, Salty Heifer, how you doing, hon? Welcome in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I might employ Salty Heifer's Negs expertise coming up here soon, too. So, I want it. Oh, and don't forget, Skeeter. Our boy Skeeter, please. I know it's been a journey, y'all. It's been like a good month. He is still in the running to win the Face of Horror. He seems to be fluctuating between first and second place. Now, you get one free daily vote. You can purchase votes, and the proceeds benefit pediatric cancer. I can't remember offhand exactly what the name of the organization is. It goes towards a good cause for pediatric cancer. It helps Skeeter out. We know Skeeter. We love Skeeter. He's a friend of the channel. I've done 2 streams with him. I'm sure I'll do more. And he is just a fantastic human being in person. So please don't forget to vote for Skeeter. If you can help him out and purchase extra votes, please do so. Hey, my girl Waffles, welcome in. So we're gonna get him through. I want to get him through. I think I may want this for him more than he wants it. And trust me, if I had unlimited funds, I would be purchasing 100 votes a day for him. But I don't have those funds, so I can't do it. Yes, and Raven Loves Crunchy Cock, aka Creek, has been absolutely fantastic about reminding people in my Discord and online. And Creek really is a gem of a human being. So Sarah, so Illyria, so's Nick, so's everybody. Yes, thank you, Creek. Yeah, and I do have my pumpkin cream iced chai tea latte, which doesn't chai mean tea? Isn't that like saying non-bread? Like it's redundant? I don't know. So I will be approaching tonight's subject matter with respect. I'm sure, I'll still joke around and whatever and commentate. Like that's what we're here for. I have 2 videos I have pre-screened because I was told I need to be respectful. Believe in this or not, I think there's a grain of truth in everything. Like all the mythological stuff, I think there's a grain of truth in all of it. I tend to fall on the side of the fence that I believe entities like this are real and they do exist, whether here in this physical plane, on more of a spiritual out of body plane. It could just be a story. I don't know, but I'm going to approach this as these folk are real. And I'm going to do my best to approach it with respect, as I was advised to. So yeah. Oh, Irma Gertz says Creek Cock. Oh my God, Irma, I've the best community ever. Oh, is that what that was? Yes. Creek is on it. Creek is amazing. I have so much love and respect for you, girl. Especially because she is a precious, 24 years old? And she is wiser and more mature than some people I know that are like 30 and older. So I have a lot of love and respect for my Creek. And I love her. She's been there for me. And like, I know I'm always going on about what a fantastic moderator she is. And she fucking is. But even more so, she's a fantastic human and friend. And you know, I'll say it again. I could not function as a human being if it was not for Creek. I know Creek is the baby. We love her. Hey, Riri. Okay, so how many of us have heard of the Wendigo? I know there are many movies based off of it, video games. One video game that I think I watched Markiplier play it because we love Markiplier. Bob, Wade, Jacksepticeye. We love all of them here. I watch them. Called Until Dawn. And in that game, the quote unquote, the antagonist they were running from was a Wendigo. And one of these videos goes into really good detail, really nice detail about both of the videos are good. I'll say that. So this does come from native lore of the Algonquin tribe. And fun fact, is it called Algonquin? Algonquin? Outside of Chicago. So, like, when you see how it's spelled, a lot of people don't know how to pronounce it. I saw a gentleman in Target some years ago, and he had on a T-shirt that said Algonquin. Yeah, Algonquin. And we're like, oh my God, you're from Algonquin. And he's like, you know how to pronounce it. And we were like, bro, we're from Chicago. And he was so excited. Really cool guy. Like one of those strangers you meet and you just like hug. And him and his wife were so adorable. Shout out to that guy. So we're going to, because don't get me wrong, I like sitting here watching the videos and such. And again, I'm still trying to teach myself how to edit. And I'm sure, eventually we'll be sitting here with watching little videos, perhaps maybe I've made to show during stream. We'll get there. It's slow but steady progress here on this channel. So I wanted to look up first who the Algonquin people are. Oh, it's such a good game. Isn't it? It's such a good game. And somebody in the comments to one of these videos said that Until Dawn actually like handled the whole topic of the Wendigo correctly. And yeah, it's a fun game to play. I don't like playing video games. I love watching people play video games. And I love Jack. I love Markiplier. I love Bob. I love their podcast, Distractable. Oh my God, it's amazing. The story of Bob's fridge is perfection. So I'm going to share my screen because we're going to do a little pre-video education as we like to do here on this channel because we are all about learning. I have 2 websites pulled up and 2 videos to watch. So good old Wikipedia. So here on this map, you can see, I know it's not super big for you guys. Can I make it bigger? No, that's not much better. I know I can click on it, but I don't want it to go out and show any of my personal info. So as you can see, the words are hard. I apologize. The Algonquin tribe, Algonquin peoples. What's the right word I should use, you guys? I don't want to be offensive, and I have immense respect for First Nations people because y'all know the truth. Y'all know the truth. So as you can see, North America, mainly up in Canada, one of the websites I have pulled up is the Canadian Encyclopedia. But as you can see down here, here's like Michigan, right? Where my little hand is, there's Chicago and boop. So they were, mainly concentrated northerly up into Canada, some in the Great Lakes area. We've got some out here. That's Salt Lake. So this to me seems like it'd be the Rocky Mountains and some on the East Coast. Okay. Tribe. Okay. Hey, not April. How you doing? I have a Wii and I need to charge it. I had to replace the screensaver because it cracked, and I need to replace that and put it back together because I like deep cleaned it. Charge it. I want to restart my island on Animal Crossing, but I have Mario Party and Super Mario Kart. Um, and I'm thinking maybe once, maybe twice a month, we could do like we play parties with people in the Discord. Is that something that would interest you guys? That would be fun. Hey, Kat, I hope you're feeling well. I've been reading your tweets all day, sweetie. I'm sending all my love and positive energy to you. Kat's awesome, you guys. And she is a fighter and a hell of a bad bitch. And I hope you're feeling better. Okay, so. All right. So Wikipedia says the Algonquin are one of the most populous and widespread North American native language groups. They historically were prominent along the Atlantic coast, so that's the East Coast, and in the interior regions along St. Lawrence River and around the Great Lakes. This grouping consists of the people who speak Algonquin languages. Before Europeans came into contact, most Algonquin settlements lived by hunting and fishing, although many of them supplemented their diet by cultivating corn, beans, and squash, the three sisters. The Ojibwe cultivated wild rice. I believe I pronounced that professionally. So, I know a lot of this is like with the whole colonization thing. So, of course, that's going to be the majority of it. I apologize for my people. We suck. Meh. Um, so let me pull up this other website, which is the Canadian Encyclopedia. Well, hold on. Wait. Let me reshare this screen. I feel like there's more I should go into. Sorry, hold please. Okay. So, colonial period. At the time of the first European settlements in North America, Algonquin peoples resided in present day Canada, east of the Rocky Mountains, New England, New Jersey, southeastern New York, Delaware, and down the Atlantic coast to the upper South and around the Great Lakes, and present day Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. The precise homeland of the Algonquin people is not known. At the time of the European arrival, the hegemonic Iroquois Confederacy, based in present day New York and Pennsylvania, was regularly at war with Algonquin neighbors. Tribal identity. The Algonquin peoples include and have included historical populations in Mohegan of Connecticut, Chowanoke, formerly of North Carolina. I see Roanoke, which is going to be a whole stream. I can't pronounce a lot of this, and I don't want to mispronounce it. So it just kind of tells you list of historic Algonquin speaking peoples. I see Algonquin, Arapaho, Blackfoot, Cheyenne, Cree, Illinois, Kickapoo, Lenape. Okay. So there's that. Let me go into my comments. Right. Listen, I think a lot of us don't, because don't forget, when people came over here in the late 1800s, early 1900s, if you were Irish, if you were Italian, you couldn't get work. They would have signs in the windows. Irish need not apply. Italian need not apply. So there's every race, religion, creed, gender. Humans have persecuted each other from day one. So that's why I'm always like, let's be nice and hang out. Let's have some emotional support tacos and just be friends. Like, but don't get too crazy with the bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, you just settle it down a little bit. It's fine. It's fine. So, this next website I'm going to share is called the Canadian Encyclopedia. And this seems like an awesome website. And it is, yeah, the Canadian Encyclopedia.ca. It's not going to be a .com. It's going to be a .ca because it's in Canada. And this came up when I looked for Wendigo. And it describes it as a Wendigo is a supernatural being belonging to the spiritual traditions of Algonquin speaking First Nations in North America. Wendigos are described as powerful monsters that have a desire to kill and eat their victims. In most legends, humans transform into Wendigos because of their greed or weakness. Various indigenous traditions consider Wendigos dangerous because of their thirst for blood and their ability to infect otherwise healthy people or communities with evil. Wendigo legends are essentially cautionary tales about isolation and selfishness and the importance of community. Hey, little miss, shut the fuck up. How you doing, girl? Welcome in. I think you were one of the people that got gifted a membership on Sunday during my birthday stream. So please enjoy your members emojis and the member streams. Have at it, have fun, and thank you again, everyone that gifted and supports the channel. Yes, Sarah, yes. So we're gonna read down more into this. Both videos we're gonna watch and other things I've been reading. Here you go. Yeah, okay. So again, this is the Canadian Encyclopedia. According to most Algonquin oral traditions, a Wendigo is a cannibalistic monster that preys on the weak and socially disconnected. In most versions of the legend, a human becomes a Wendigo after his or her spirit is corrupted by greed or weakened by extreme conditions such as hunger and cold. In other legends, humans become Wendigos when possessed by a prowling spirit during a moment of weakness. So this makes me, we're going to cover urban legends soon. And most urban legends originate on the basis of morality. You know, like a lot of plots in horror movies. You ever notice the virginal girl lives to survive to the end, but the two teenagers off making out or, up bumping uglies in a bedroom somewhere are the ones that get off? there's this whole, and most urban legends are like that too. There's some moral code to it. And I find that very interesting. And we will be covering that when we cover urban legends sometime. Yes, um so we're not going to go too far into this because again, uh the videos go into it, but it's a great website. So I live at the base of Lake Tahoe, right? We'll say I'm in the Reno area. And if you know anything about the history of this area, you have heard of the Donner Party. It was this group of people that were trying to get to Oregon, I believe. And they have to go through the Sierra Nevada mountains. They started out too late in the year because this was like, if you've ever played the Oregon Trail, 3 days into it, dying of dysentery every time, every time, every time. I love that game though. Yes, I have covered. I have a stream on the Black Eyed Kids. That was one of my first streams. You're right, Franken. Yep, that was one of my first ones. And you'll want to watch that because I share my encounter with what I believe was a Black Eyed Kid. Um so the Donner Party started out too late. It was one of the heaviest snowfalls on record. I will drag my mom up there one day because there's this monument that the base of it is how deep the snow was, and it's wild. I've been up there before years and years. I think like 2015 I went up there with a friend. I'll make my way back up there and take pictures and figure out how to share them and stuff on stream. We can talk about the Donner Party. Because Freaky Friday is about all kinds of stuff. But they had um native guides and they yeeted out of there so fast because they were like, they knew it was coming and they're like, nope, okay, bye. And I can't remember if it's in any of the videos or anything that I read, but my understanding is that a person becomes a Wendigo when, say, and again, it's talked about in the videos we're going to watch, starvation, famine during the cold, the extreme. Because keep in mind, Canada, Midwest, all that. I don't have a clear understanding. Well, no. So sorry, my ADHD is a little out of control. It sounds like when a person again, has a moment of weakness, greed, or they take another person's life while they're starving and then like eat them. It's the consumption of the human flesh. As opposed to like, say, when if everyone's familiar with that movie Alive where the plane crashed in the Andes Mountains and the people like knew they were going to die and they're like, listen, I'm going to die. I give you permission. I give you my blessing. Consume me so you can stay alive and get out of here. So I don't know. I don't have an understanding if it's in general, if um the person eats human flesh, they'll become a Wendigo regardless of how the person they're consuming passed. Whereas like if I knew I was gonna kick the bucket and if like my friends ate me, they could live, I'd be like, have at it. Your burb's got a juicy rump roast. Go for it. As opposed to it being a like malicious act. I'm not clear on that. Maybe I missed that in the videos, but that's yeah. That's all I'll say. You know. I mean, listen. And one of the guys, I think it's John Solo, and he's got like 1.5 million subscribers, and I really like him. Sean Nova. You also have to sign an NDA. Sean, I need those NDAs. Get it notarized. Okay. Okay, if you ever need any advice on pew pews, if you're not already versed, please feel free to DM me on Twitter or join my Discord. I can help you with that. You're gonna want one of them, y'all. Oh, little bit of self promo. I'm doing a whole ass local fest tomorrow, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. I'll cover my Nigsy, my favorite cow. Chantel in that chef outfit is too good to pass up. Amber's starting a whole new arc, so I'm gonna look through Bottle and some other channels and see what they've got, cut down from her. So we're gonna graze through the pasture tomorrow. It's gonna be a good time. All right. We're going to get into these videos. Their links are in my description. And Creek, if you check our private Discord, you'll find I linked it's like all the good Christmas specials like Rudolph, um, Frosty. It's like 2 hours of Christmas specials for you, I found, and I sent that to you. So please look in Creek's Granny and you will find that, my dear. All right, we're going to watch the shorter one first. So this is from a channel called Mythology and Fiction Explained. And again, he's got like 1.5 million subscribers. These dudes need no help from me. Creek is so excited about Christmas. I have some ideas I need to talk with her about because I love Christmas too. I'm just reveling in my fall, in my pumpkin. Let me live. And this subject matter tonight makes me extremely nervous. Do I have my emotional support taco Mick the Cornball sent me in my lap? Yeah, I sure. Can you hear it? I sure fucking do. All right. So this is called Wendigo, the cannibalistic spirit of Native American folklore. Let's full screen this bad boy. And again, this is Mythology and Fiction Explained. Link is in my description. They've got 1.5 million subs. So I'm going to venture to guess their content is good. All right, here we go. Wait, let me put it up to 1.25 because ADHD. All right. Let's go, baby.
Today we have a very special treat for everybody watching because not only do we have...
Oh, no. He talks kind of fast as it is, so we're just going to put it on normale. All right.
An exciting announcement, but we also finally cover a topic that I'm sure many people have been waiting to see. We travel to the parts of North America that the Algonquin people call their home in order to discuss a truly terrifying legend. An evil spirit that prowls the northern forests of the Atlantic coast. A monster that can be found up and down the Great Lakes region of the United States and Canada. The creature that I'm referring to is part of the most famous set of stories to originate from Algonquin folklore. These stories indeed refer to the Wendigo. Some believe that it was a large monster, and others saw it as a spirit capable of possession. The manner in which the Wendigo manifests itself depends entirely on the beliefs of the individual, and the Algonquin can be broken down into several groups of indigenous people. If we put aside the Wendigo's appearance briefly, there was a general agreement as to what the Wendigo was and what it represented. It is almost always associated with cannibalism, famine, and greed that came with the long...
So this image that's on screen now that they're showing, from my understanding, is not what a Wendigo is supposed to look like. A lot of people in the comments were commenting under these two videos like, I'm Native, where did the antlers come from? I think through popular culture, they've gotten added, and somebody made a very insightful comment about, you know, popular culture adding them just for the visual creepy effect in stories, video games, and movies, but also the subconscious psyche, and that adding most animals with antlers, they're prey animals. So adding antlers to something that is coming, the prey becomes the predator. You see, like, does that make sense? But in true native lore, it does not have antlers.
Cold winters, which is why so many saw it as a malevolent supernatural
Okay.
entity. So what does the Wendigo actually look like? There are two very distinct archetypes that I'm sure many of you would recognize. A large-looking demonic beast, normally with the head or skull of a stag, complete with some kind of antlers or horns. This type of Wendigo is one that has become quite popular today, and it's an image that I'm sure many of you recognize from a lot of popular media. But this
Kate Winslet. I think she's too big. See, Wendigo are supposed to be like emaciated. They're supposed to be skeletal. So I feel where you're going on that. However, she doesn't fit the body type. So I don't know. Would she be more of like a Bigfoot? Or okay, if Chantal was a mythological creature, what mythological creature would she be? Please put your answers in chat or in the comments. Shout out Replay Gang Gang. Thank you so much.
particular image seems to be a more modern interpretation. I remember seeing this imagery when first watching the TV show Hannibal, which of course has its own underlying themes of murder and cannibalism. At the time I didn't really understand the Wendigo symbolism, because I didn't really know much about the Wendigo and its own association with cannibalism and acts of evil. So why does this version of the Wendigo have antlers and fur reminiscent of a stag? Sadly, I couldn't really find a conclusive answer. There isn't much mention of the Wendigo's appearance in traditional Algonquin folklore, and what we do see certainly doesn't describe a stag, so there could be some confusion between the concept of the Navajo skinwalker, or this very well could be a modern stylistic interpretation. Either way, the stag is an animal that appears in folklore all around the world, though it's normally associated with woodland deities and fertility. It's also an animal that the Native Americans highly respected. So if we do go with the concept that the Wendigo was seen as a symbol of corruption, the fact that it then manifests as an animal that the natives held in such high regard makes it seem as if nothing is safe from the Wendigo's curse, which does highlight the seriousness of the warnings and meanings interwoven into these stories. The more traditional appearance of the Wendigo is closer to a haggard and decomposing corpse. Its skin is stretched extremely tightly over its bones, creating a thin translucent layer of desiccated flesh, from which its bones are
Ooh, yeah. See, this is from my understanding more what it's supposed to look like, which is kind of vampiric, I guess, to compare it to or notice a parallel to. And trigger warning, eating disorder. Again, I like to read through the comments of these videos, and there was seemingly a younger female that commented, and she used this classic description of it and said she's recovered, but she suffered from anorexia, and that description, physical description of it, um and having the opposite of like a greed for food, like she had the opposite of like a greed for starvation. She just left this very insightful, endearing, sad yet triumphant comment, and it made me think about like all of this surrounding it, and I was like, damn girl. And I was like, I hope you're doing well. We all know what YouTuber I'm thinking of. Oh,
ready to burst. Its complexion varies from a sickly white to an ashy grey. It has long, spindly fingers with sharp nails that it uses to tear its victims into pieces. The easiest way to describe this type of Wendigo is as a gaunt skeleton that looks like it has risen from the grave. Wherever the Wendigo goes, it is followed by the odour of death and decay. It is a vile creature with jagged, misshapen teeth that at times resemble yellow fangs. In this form, the Wendigo may be a creature that resembles a humanoid, but I assure you they are nothing short of anyone's worst nightmare. There's an interesting description that comes from Innu lore that believed Wendigos were giant creatures made of ice that would dwarf over human beings. And this was because every time a Wendigo ate a person, they would grow in proportion to the meal.
I'm not going to make any Chantel comments. Those are for the stream tomorrow. I'm going to be respectful. I'm not going to make any Chantel comments.
So the bigger the meal, the bigger they grew. And this was one of the ways they used to describe the Wendigo's insatiable hunger, because it created this vicious cycle, where the more the Wendigo consumed, the bigger and stronger they grew, but it would have to consume more and more to satisfy its ever-growing hunger. This definitely gives us an interesting contrast. You have these enormous gluttonous creatures.
And think, this was back in, so this, Jasper just scared the ever-loving shit out of me. He stretched, and I have carpeting in my room, and his nails, because he was stretching, like went across you scared the crap out of me, dude. He has no fucks to give. He is comfy, cozy, and snoring. Oh my God. Bro. I don't get freaked out when I'm doing these streams. I'm fine. It's fine. I have my emotional support taco. I'm fine. Help me. So, as I was saying before, my dog freaked me out. Oh my God, Jasper. Oh, this lore came about before we had Chantel's and Amber's and Slayton's, but it does make me think of them because clearly they're all food addicts, and even though, because again, the Wendigo is cannibalistic, but I know my mind is also drawn to, because it's the greed, and then this version is like getting bigger with every person he eats. The parallels, though, I don't really have a point to make. I just think that's interesting.
And then you have these thin, gaunt husks that are wasting away, but both still suffer from starvation. And that is what we consider the curse of the Wendigo. Its hunger can never be sated.
So, with the exception of physical appearance, yeah, that I can't imagine that. Like, I'm hungry most of the time, but like, I'm fine. I don't want to eat. I can't eat. I choose not to eat. I can't imagine being hungry all the time and then gorging myself on food and either not feeling full, because there's a difference between feeling full and feeling satisfied. You can eat food and be physically full, but you're not like mentally and emotionally satisfied from it, I can't imagine just eating that much that often and never feeling full or satiated, whether it's one of the girls or the Wendigo. I'm just saying.
Its quest for new victims is eternal.
It is.
Wendigos are always regarded as evil, and this is in no doubt because of their cannibalistic nature. But how does one become?
That is an amazing picture. Whoever drew that or whatever, because this is from a couple years ago, I don't think AI was like prevalent. That is amazing, and you are very artistically talented.
Such an evil entity. There is the belief that humans could turn into Wendigos if they were overcome by greed. These stories were told as a way to encourage moderation and essentially scare individuals into behaving a certain way. Those who committed unspeakable acts of cannibalism were also thought to become Wendigos, and this belief is where many attribute the start of the Wendigo legend. There were, however, extremely dark times where famine was so bad that people had no choice but to resort to cannibalism just in order to survive and make it through the long cold winter. It's not really common today, but in times of extreme famine, some of the Native American people would perform a ceremonial dance that involved wearing a mask and dancing backwards behind a drum. This ceremony was mostly considered to be a satirical way to...
Oh, I want to read out Creek's comment for those that are not looking at the screen now or in replay. Raven Loves Crunchy Cock, aka Creek Native Girl, says, yeah, that's how it's always been described to me. I'm going to say this is what I was taught, that they were human that turned into a Wendigo. after normal suffering from the cold and starvation. So when they turn, and I think she's typing out the rest of it. We'll wait for that so I can throw it up and read it. Yeah, this is, and I admit for a while I would get the Wendigo and Skinwalkers mixed up. All right. No matter how much they eat, they're never full. They are very good at survival. And yeah, and one of the guys in these videos brings up a great point. I think it's John Solo. He's like the Donner Party. Imagine being stuck somewhere. It's just snowing. You're cold, you can't get warm, you run out of food, you're going days, weeks without eating. Like, imagine what that does to your psyche. Imagine what that does to you. Want to talk about momentals? There's your fucking mentals. I cannot. I don't want to imagine that would be what that would be like. Again, I'll go up to the Donner Memorial maybe in the spring. And once I get better at my editing skills and whatnot, and even if it's like a rough cut, I'll take some cell phone video and like edit it together and we can watch it and I can tell you guys all about it. Okay. All right. Very, very interesting. I've got that like respectful fear.
To reinforce the seriousness of the Wendigo taboo. Many saw the Wendigo as a metaphor that represented imbalance and disharmony, not only in an individual, but in society as a whole. This idea of selfishness does also tie in with the fact that Wendigos were seen as solitary creatures, often being referred to as spirits of the lonely places. So what makes the Wendigo so special, and why are we so scared of them? The possession of a Wendigo isn't like your generic...
This is a screenshot from that game Until Dawn. And this is their version of the Wendigo. Again, people even commented in this and the other video about how well done that game was as far as the Wendigo and what they portrayed in the game.
Spirit or demon. It chooses its victim very carefully and slowly eats away at their sanity. It enters their thoughts and plagues their mind with countless nightmares. Unable to sleep, they start experiencing a burning sensation throughout their entire body. This has been described as Wendigo fever, and there have been countless tales of people running stark naked through forests at the dead of night, claiming that they have Wendigo fever. Now, as a supernatural entity, you'd expect some kind of supernatural abilities, and most of these are exactly what you would imagine. The Wendigo is extremely fast and has unnatural strength despite how frail some of them may look. As expert hunters, they have heightened endurance and senses, making it so they can hunt in all manner of terrain and temperature. The older the Wendigo gets, the stronger it becomes. As its corruption spreads through the forests, so does its influence on nature. Some are capable of controlling woodland creatures, and others are so powerful they can control the weather, with the eldest able to summon a darkness capable of concealing the sun, making...
There are I'm not saying that there are forces in this world we are not aware of and do not understand. I have witnessed myself some things I cannot explain, and I did not want to know the answer to. So I just let my bolt hole slam shut and went on my merry way. And I was like, okay, that happened. That's a thing. And no, this is not from a movie. This is from a video game called Until Dawn. Video game graphics are getting scary realistic, and that game came out some time ago. So yeah, it was very well done.
Making it so no one is safe, regardless of time or location. Despite what we perceive to be just stories, there have been numerous cases over the years of people committing horrid crimes, claiming that they were possessed by a Wendigo. In 1878, a Native American man named Swift Runner butchered and ate his entire family. That winter was said to have been particularly harsh, and Swift Runner's son had sadly died because of the extreme conditions. Now, we don't know if Swift Runner and his family ate the boy to survive, but the mutilated remains of his wife and 5 other children were later found. He eventually confessed to killing and eating his entire family, but he was adamant that his actions were due to a Wendigo possession. So did devouring his son turn him into a Wendigo? Did he butcher his family?
Well, and here's a question. So we've talked about demons on this channel before. And consuming human flesh is not only taboo. I think that personally, I believe that has some serious spiritual indication. There's a reason, allegedly, my little tinfoil conspiracy hat theory is most of the elites, the higher ups, the 1%, do these weird rituals, claim it's art. Adrenochrome is a thing. Allegedly, in Minecraft, consume human flesh. And I think there is a very heavy spiritual price that comes with that. So this is all making a lot of sense to me. So was this guy, so is the Wendigo perhaps like a demonic, what we would call in our modern day, mainly based off of the Catholic religion, is this a demonic spirit? Is this something that could be interdimensional even? Because those things exist. Making it it's making me really making me wonder. Well, thank you very much, Jason Andrews. Welcome into the Bird Nest. We're very excited to have you here. Welcome.
Family because he felt they wouldn't survive the winter? Or did he value the self-preservation of his own life over his family's? The answer to those questions we'll most likely never know. Another rather famous case is that of Jack Fiddler and his brother Joseph, who were arrested for the murder of over a dozen people. As the chief of his people, Jack was thought to be capable of removing evil, which is why he got away with killing so many, claiming that they were all possessed by a Wendigo. Jack managed to escape captivity during a routine war.
Which makes me think of a priest doing exorcisms, which it's on the list. All the things are on the list. I actually have a playlist of there's an interview with a Catholic exorcist. So yeah. So I'm seeing a lot of parallels here. I'm seeing, this is making my brain
walk outside, and he eventually hung himself before the trial came to a conclusion. His brother Joseph, however, wasn't so lucky. He was sentenced to death by Magistrate Ellsworth Perry. Despite the numerous appeals of his innocence, Joseph, ironically enough, was eventually given a pardon, but it came 3 days after his death in 1909. These type of cases led people to believe that it might be a more serious mental issue, one that would later be dubbed Wendigo psychosis, the deep craving for flesh. But whether it was
when I first watched this, I thought for sure he was going to say schizophrenia, but nope. It's a whole separate thing unto itself. Wendigo psychosis. Here, I'm going to let this play and I'm going to look that up.
was a real mental disorder is something that was heavily debated, as the number of reported cases decreased dramatically in the 20th century, when the Algonquin people adapted European ideologies and began to live less rural lifestyles. There's no doubt that the Wendigo myth has changed and evolved over the years. It's now become another monster that reflects our own issues as humans: greed, selfishness, and in some extreme or metaphoric cases, cannibalism. It's unlikely that many of the Native American tribes still believe in the legends of the Wendigo as adamantly as they once did. To them, the Wendigo was an evil spirit that embodied everything they hated. It can be interpreted as a symbol of corruption, from what they perceive to be outsiders, changing their landscape and the beliefs of their people. Stories of the Wendigo were used as a way to encourage a balanced lifestyle and respect for one's peers and the world surrounding them. A creature with insatiable hunger, a spirit capable of possession, or a story meant to encourage cooperation and warn against the dangers of greed? You decide. Before we do end today's video, I'd like to tell you about our new series of short stories that I'll be publishing over the Christmas and New Year period in the build-up to our book release. The stories
This has happened because this is a few years old, but again, this is a fantastic channel. This is Mythology and Fiction Explained. You can see a burb is subscribed, y'all. They've got 1.52 million subscribers. I'm curious to what other videos. Ooh, Tiamat. Ooh. Oh, they've got some fun stuff. The history of fairies. They've got some good videos. This seems like a really great channel. Yeah. So again, link is in my description. Check them out. Support them. Not that they need my fucking help, but you know. Okay. So I looked up. How we doing? We're gonna check in. We're gonna take a breather. How we doing? How are we doing? Creek says it's linked to demonic spirits, similar to the Jezebel spirit is linked to demonic spirits. Okay. So it's very possible that there is a possession in these types of cases, but Wendigo themselves are different. Interesting. All right. So we're going to look up. Let me close that one because we don't want that one. Okay. So Wendigo psychosis was mentioned, which y'all know we love the psychology here. Is it this one? Yes. Okay, so psychosis. Historical accounts of retroactively diagnosed Wendigo psychosis, it has been reported that humans became possessed by the Wendigo spirit after being in a situation of needing food and having no other choice besides cannibalism. Okay, so the difference is because I'm much more familiar with like traditional quote unquote Christian demonic possession situation type deal moment. So this very much seems to happen again after extreme conditions, hunger, cannibalism, but it does have in common with like a traditional demonic possession. Usually somebody who's possessed by a quote unquote demon often has, I mean, it happened to it it's been said to have happened to, you know, normal people, normal family, whatever. Abusing drugs and alcohol will get your ass possessed, and there's several stages to it. There's like suppression, all this stuff. We'll go over it one day. So there seems to be a lot of parallels. And all right, so let's read this. Although in many recorded cases of Wendigo psychosis, the individual has been killed to prevent cannibalism from resulting, some Cree folklore recommends treatments by ingestion of fatty animal meats or drinking animal grease. Those treated may sometimes vomit ice as part of the curing process. That's a lot. Again, brings up the Swift Runner. Swift Runner and his family were starving, and his eldest son died 25 miles away from emergency food supply at a Hudson's Bay Company post. Swift Runner butchered and ate his wife and 5 remaining children. Given that he resorted to cannibalism so near to food supplies, and that he killed and consumed the remains of all those present, it was revealed that Swift Runner's was not a case of pure cannibalism as a last resort to avoid starvation, but rather of a man with Wendigo psychosis. He eventually confessed and was executed by authorities at Fort Saskatchewan. I mean, listen, 25 miles to us today is nothing. I would beg to differ that in 1878, by horse or horse in your little carriage thing behind you, would take a half a day, if not a day, there back. And if it was snowing, the weather wasn't great, and the terrain wasn't great, that could take a couple of days each way. Ooh, all right. Everyone, shake it off. Center your energy. Okay, we good? Are we good? I know it's a lot. This is why I saved this one. This is why I saved these for 6 weeks of spoopy and towards the end of it, because I knew this was going to be real freaky, real heavy. We're going to talk about some, there's just certain topics that are just kind of icky to talk about. But I am definitely finding the parallels between this and like a demonic possession are very interesting to me. Kate Winslet, when I tell you, bitch, I love you, I fucking mean it. Kate says, I get eating one, but the whole family, that's just gluttonous. Ugh. I mean, psychosis, any sort of psychosis is not a good psychosis. Ooh. Okay. No, yep, she's not wrong. Yes, I'm a little freaked out right now. I'm gonna say I'm a little freaked out. And again, I'm trying to be entertaining and fun and informative while trying to remain respectful towards the Wendigo. Because I really don't want the ass coming for me in the middle of the night. And keep in mind, I live in Nevada, and I live like smack dab in between, like there's like 3 tribes around me. So yeah. Yes. Yep. Diff, do you know of the Silent Sisters? Those 2 sisters, and one of that is such. You want to talk about fascinating psychology? We'll talk about them one day. Fascinating. All right. So we've got this next video is a little longer. Oh, you can tell I was watching it. We're gonna see how fast this one goes. All right, let me share my screen. And this is well done. A lot of people in the comments were like, I'm native. This is very well done. Again, links are in my description. This gentleman's name is John Solo. Again, bro does not need my help or promotion. He's got 1.51 million subscribers, and rightfully so, because I subscribed. Wow, good job, YouTube. I subscribed and thumbs up both of these videos yesterday, but that doesn't matter. YouTube, they moved all the buttons. They moved all the buttons. They moved all the buttons. They moved all the fucking buttons. Everything's in a different place. All my buttons are in a different place, but fun fact, when you're watching a stream or a video now, go up to the cog on the screen and you can lock your screen. So there are some new fun features, but oh, the sisters that didn't talk, and then they were in that is a wild fucking story. Maybe I kind of want to take it easy the Friday after Halloween, because like this has been a lot of research, not to mention I had everything all planned out, and then YouTube said nope, change a TOS again, and we're going to enforce it. So I had to scrap 4 weeks worth of stuff I had planned out and researched and ready to go, and like redo everything on the fly. So that was fun. So this is called The Very Messed Up Origins, which is trademarked, of the Wendigo. And John Solo or the other guy, please feel free to copyright claim my video. If you can get paid from the views I'll get, have at it, bro. Cannibal Demon, Native American Folklore Explained. I'm going to put him up to 1.25 after a little bit. But yeah, this guy's really good. So again, John Solo.
What is going on, mere mortals? My name is John Solo, and it's finally my favorite time of year. After 11 months of patiently waiting, spoopy season has returned.
Woo-woo!
October is upon us, and all the folklore we're covering this month has a theme that I think you're going to love: the consumption of human flesh.
There we go.
If there is one thing that humankind...
This is a really good video. This guy is really good. Like, this is one day. I don't know about being on screen. I may show myself someday. We'll see. He's what I kind of aspire to be with my Friday streams. So I really enjoy him. Oh my God, I just noticed his shirt. All the little cherubim, little devil. Oh my God, his shirt. I love this guy. Hi, John Solo. Do you want to be friends? Because I like you.
collectively hates, it's going to Jared Leto movies. But right after that is the idea that we're going to be eaten. Ask anyone not committed to an insane
Isn't he cute though? He do be kind of cute though, Kate. I mean, you know.
asylum, and they would agree. Jared Leto needs to quit acting. Also, it would suck to be eaten. We hate the idea.
He goes in on Jared Leto in the beginning, and Morbius, that horrible movie. I've tried to watch that shit movie so many times, but Jared Leto needs to stop with the weird cult stuff and preying on. But he's not wrong. John Solo is not wrong about Jared Leto. I'm just
Of being eaten so much that we all decided to not see the movie where Jared Leto eats people. Even more impressive, we took ourselves out of the food chain, so we no longer have to worry about predators like lions, tigers, and bears, at least not in our day-to-day lives. But if one looks into the worlds of folklore and literature, you'll see that many of the most memorable and nightmare-inducing villains have something in common. They're all humanoids who have a fondness for man flesh. The witch in Hansel and Gretel, vampires like Dracula, the evil queen who wanted to eat Snow White's heart, and then there's today's subject, the Wendigo. The Wendigo is a cannibalistic monster originating from the folklore of North America's indigenous peoples, and it's become a staple of modern-day horror. It's inspired movies like the aptly named Wendigo, starring Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle, and the Guillermo del Toro-produced Antlers. TV shows like Supernatural and Grimm have both dedicated episodes to the monster. Crypt TV's loved and feared Mordeo looks to me like it was inspired by the Wendigo, and it's even made its way into video games. Fallout 76 is set in post-apocalyptic Appalachia, where the forests are haunted by Wendigos. The feeders in Dead Space were inspired by the creature, and I just found out they're the main antagonists in Until Dawn.
So this is what Sarah Kay thought was from a movie. This is from the same video game. Hold on, let me make sure I did not mute myself. And here's side note. Y'all go back and watch all the shit we watched as kids, as adults. I rewatched the 1996 version of Romeo and Juliet because people love it or hate it. I love it. Oh, wait. No. That's not yours. Here, Winston, is this what you're upset about? Come here. Up. Winston's in a kerfuffle, and I don't know why. Go back and watch it. Watching it through adult eyes after you've had like 20 some years to like process and grow, I was like, wait a damn minute. Y'all knew each other for 2 motherfuckers. I will get in on that at a different time. But yeah, go back and watch it. It's a lot. I'm not in the right screen to hit play.
A horror game about surviving until dawn. But while all of these depictions have a kernel of accuracy in them, that kernel being cannibalism, they are a pretty huge departure from the folklore they were based on. especially the movies. Why so many of them have decided to throw antlers on this thing, I have no idea. Apparently, antlers are scary. You see, the concept of Wendigos comes from a few different indigenous groups in North America.
Okay, Share Bear, you drive safe, sweetie.
The Plains and Great Lakes natives, as well as the First Nations peoples. These groups, which all belong to the Algonquin language group,
Algonquin. Algonquin. That's how I was taught to say it. I could be wrong. So, and this is the map we looked at earlier on the Wikipedia page, but here you know it's bigger because it's in a video and whatnot. So here you go. All the red areas are. Here's a question you guys can answer in chat while we're watching this. If you knew you were going to shuffle off this mortal coil, hey, B. Walsh, welcome in, hun. If you knew you were going to shuffle off this mortal coil, and like, whether you loved him, you hate him, friends, family, whoever, would you be like, hey, listen, I'm getting ready to move on to the next plane of existence, but I give you permission, I give you my blessing to consume my body so you can stay alive? Would you be okay with that? I don't want to do an official poll on that because it's kind of, but you know, if you let me know in chat. I'm curious. I would, if consuming dad ass would keep my friends alive, absolutely. Eat me. Eat me.
were based in and around the East Coast forests of Canada, the Great Plains regions of the United States, and the Great Lakes regions of the US and Canada. The stories they told about the Wendigo were nothing like the ones found in pop culture, which usually portray them as monsters of the weak and give them antlers, fangs, and...
Sean, would a statement in Discord suffice? But listen, everyone needs to sign an NDA. Everyone needs to sign an NDA. I'll get that to you in the Discord, Sean.
claws, making them some kind of deer-werewolf hybrid. Like I said, they're accurate in that they usually show Wendigos as former humans who've consumed human flesh, but the transformation that cannibals went through in Native American lore wasn't so physically dramatic. In his book, The Manitoas, The Supernatural World of the Ojibwe, native author Basil H. Johnston describes the Wendigo as gaunt to the point of emaciation, its desiccated skin pulled tightly over its bones. With its bones pushing out over its skin, its complexion the ash gray of death, and its eyes pushed back deep into its sockets, the Wendigo looked like a gaunt skeleton recently disinterred from the grave. What lips it had were tattered and bloody. Unclean and suffering from suppurations of the flesh, the Wendigo gave off a strange and eerie odor of decay and decomposition, of death and corruption. I would describe it.
Yeah, so if you're ever out and about and you see a gaunt, gray-skinned, emaciated creature that smells of death approaching you, one, it's going to be a Wendigo. Two, if you're in or around the Connorsville area, it's going to be Nigs. I'm just... I had to. I couldn't pass up that opportunity. It's going to be Nigs.
As a transformation of the soul and of the mind, comparable to being possessed by an evil spirit. It no longer cares for the wants and needs of other people, even its own family and friends. Actually, Johnston also says in his book that the word Wendigo comes from the Anishinaabe words ween dago, meaning solely for self. The only thing that the...
That's very interesting. Because again, the origins are in greed. It can't who is Raven Loves Country Croc? That's our dearest Creek native girl. For those that have come in or are just coming in, Rachel, wow, words. Raven Purple Heart Crunchy Cock is Creek native girl. She's bound and determined. Let me live, Creek. I love you.
The Wendigo desires is to eat human flesh. and that has no concerns about who may be affected by it satisfying those cravings. But you might be wondering, where do those cravings come from? Are Wendigos people who spontaneously decide to eat human one day? Was it an infection of some kind, a brain fungus that turned them into zombies? The real answer is actually even darker than that, at least in my opinion. The craving came from starvation, if someone was a shitty hunter, or if it was wintertime.
You guys, it's the emotional support taco. Winston thinks it's a new toy. And he's like, bitch, give me the emo taco. And I'm like, no, it was a birthday present. I need this emotional support taco. That's what it was. Winston, this is not for you. Is it this you want? No, them mommy. Them mommies.
And animals were harder to
No.
come by, they may have resorted to eating their own kin. An 1800s explorer named John Tanner, who was nicknamed White Indian and lived with the Ojibwe and Chippewa tribes for 30 years, described this exact scenario happening to someone from his hunting band, describing the perpetrator as a rather insignificant person and a poor hunter. Tanner said this individual had eaten his own wife because of hunger, and that the Indians had wanted to kill him at the time as being unworthy to live. This brings up another.
Yeah. You had to be able to hunt your food, track the animals, hunt it, kill it. I would assume field dress it, get it back, whether on an individual basis. And this is why people tended to live in groups, because you helped each other out. And if you didn't secure enough meat and preserve it, or weren't able to go out and find it and get it, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. And I think of these things sometimes when it's like, am I really going to get upset because my DoorDash is taking an extra 20 minutes? No, I am fucking not going to get upset.
Important point that is vital to Wendigo lore. From the moment you took your first bite of human flesh, your fellow tribe members wanted nothing to do with you. And I think we can all agree that that's an understandable position to take.
Look at this illustration. Hold on, let me get my...
If someone were willing...
Can't get the words off of it. Yeah. Again, that is why the native guides that had accompanied the Donner Party yeeted the fuck out of there, and they were like, nope. But I have to go back and research that again, because the guides made it out. But then you've got all these like entitled, you had to have money to do like the Oregon Trail, right? We're going to talk about that one day. So why did the guides make it out? But like the people, I have questions.
To betray their own wife or children.
Okay, Sarah K. Sarah K has a question. Yes. I had a pen pal that lived in Muskogee, Oklahoma. We met when our families were on vacation in Las Vegas when we were like 10, and we wrote letters. So I was like 1988, and we wrote letters back and forth for years. I need to see if I can find her. I still remember her name and her sister's name. And she lived in Muskogee, Oklahoma. I'm an Okie from Muskogee. So Sarah K wants to know, do you become a Wendy if one scratches or bites you? Bites you too, or did I make that up in my brain? So I'll let those in chat that know answer that. I don't believe that's the case. I think it's the isolation, the greed, the conception, possible possession, psychosis. I think it's that. But then again, I don't know. I could be wrong.
And eat them to survive, you can't trust them to look out for anyone else in the tribe. That being said, when you consider the position that some of these people were in, going days, if not weeks, without eating and freezing their asses off, those are some of the roughest conditions that humans can face.
Yep.
And none of us sitting in our climate-controlled houses with our lumbar-supported chairs can really imagine where our mental health would be if we were thrust into that position.
I love that he made that comment. This is what I was talking about earlier. Being stuck. And keep in mind, it is pitch fucking black. There are times so you guys know I would drive to and from Reno to Sacramento for a job, carrying veterinary samples. So urine, blood, feces, biopsies. They're only viable for so long. They had to go. It didn't matter if it was chain controls in the mountains or even if I-80 was closed. Then I'd take Highway 50. We went because those samples needed to get there. It was dangerous. It was fun. Wouldn't do it again. But on my way back home, when I'd have time at like 3 in the morning, on I-80, I would pull over, turn my headlights off, and just put my blinkers on. And granted, I knew nobody was coming by because it's like a blizzard and at 3 in the morning. Like, it's pitch black. It is pitch black, like scary. And there were so many times I'd be driving home, or even in the summer when it was nice and it was beautiful driving through the mountains, even at night. But I would just get a feeling through certain areas. I'm like, please don't let me break down or hit something here. Y'all know I hate the fucking forest as it is. I don't like the forest. I hate. But yeah, it's freezing cold, pitch black, days, weeks, months on end. You're starving. You don't know when or if help is coming. I don't want to know what my mental health would deteriorate to. And as strong as I like to think I am, and I know I am, I would for sure crumble because you can only take so much. You know?
And I'm willing to bet that at least one of you watching this would have been desperate enough to eat your grandma. Statistically, that's just a fact. Sidebar, don't eat your grandma. Grandmas are gamey and all around don't have much nutritional value. I learned that from the original Little Red Riding Hood.
I like this guy. He reminds me, if you know of a channel called CZ's World, he covers like a lot of horror movies and stuff. I feel like they could be brothers, but I know that. Don't eat your grandma. Yeah, don't. They're gamey and tough.
There was more behind this social banishment than just the issue of trust, though. It was believed that anyone who consumed human flesh would never be able to stop. They would be afflicted with a craving they could never fully satisfy. Now, this might be a weird comparison to make, but if you want to see this phenomenon in action, season 4 of It's Always Sunny explored a very similar concept.
Looks like you two have been enjoying my meat.
The episode was not based in Wendigo folklore, but when Frank tricks Charlie and Dee into thinking they ate human, they start to lose their minds. And no matter what they try to fill their stomachs with, it's just not as satisfying as the man meat. Granted, we learn later in the episode that the supposed human meat was actually just raccoon, and their insatiable hunger was likely the result of tapeworms, but this phenomenon of the hunger was a real concern to Native Americans. There's a super interesting interview with an elder of the Cree tribe where he
I'm going to let this play for a minute. I just heard a crash in my living room.
elaborates on this. I'll link it in the resources section of the description, but here's a direct quote. "And when a person came to be in that state, he is no longer an ordinary human. It doesn't bother him how cruel it is. And in time, if he eats again and again, if he eats the meat of the human flesh, it gets numb. It doesn't have any more feeling. And his heart became like ice. There's no sympathy, there's no right, no human richness. Meat is all that counts." So as you can see, the Wendigo has quite a few more layers than big scary monster who eats people. It was a corruption of the soul. Corruption that was born from
Oh no, it's not a Wendigo. It's I'm not gonna say on stream. It's a lot. I'll say that. It's a normal daily occurrence in this house. Stay away from alcohol, kids.
greed, desperation, or insanity. Not pouring radioactive waste on a sacred native burial ground like Hollywood has taught us. Sure, stories about the Wendigos were told to scare people, but not for the sole purpose of entertainment. The final goal was not to give someone the heebie-jeebies. They taught lessons and gave warnings that no matter how hungry and desperate you find yourself, even in the dead of winter, you should never resort to eating your own kind. If you do, you'll never be the same again.
And I believe that to be true. Again, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of like cell memory. That's a whole thing we can go into sometime. What was I gonna say? I forgot my point. Again, because keep in mind, thinking back to these times, these people, they had morals, they had ethics, they had they held you to a standard as a human being. I know, crazy concept, right? Like you had to contribute, you had to be a good person, you had to follow A, B, and C. And it was for the betterment of yourself and the betterment for your community or your tribe as a whole. And those were very important things because from what I've learned and what I know, if people didn't follow that, it could spell possible demise for everybody. It was a domino effect. Where in this day and age, we are very often isolated. How many of you know your neighbors? First and last name. And not because you get in their Amazon packages, but because you talk to them, you interact with them. How many of you can go and knock on somebody's door and be like, hey, yo, I need a cup of sugar? I have a few neighbors I can do that with, thankfully, because I'm that person where I'm like, hi, I'm Raven. Nice to meet you. Like, I go over and introduce myself. It's important to me. But here it's, and then especially after the great panini, I think we're even more isolated. Isn't that funny? But, this is why I think it's very important. Know the people in your community, try and have some interactions with them, know who your elders/elderly are, keep an eye on them. Like, we need to get back to this idea of community. And not just because you identify as a fucking potato, but like the people you live around and function directly in society with, in your community with, and checking on people and taking care of our elders and listening to their stories. Like, we really need to get back to that. Oh, and morals and ethics too.
And either your tribe will abandon you or you'll be hunted, killed, and burned. Because the only way to truly kill a Wendigo is with fire.
Creek, if you could talk to your mom about adopting me, I know I just turned 45, but that would be great. That sounds lovely.
Clothes, your blood, your body, and especially your heart, which was believed to have turned to ice, would be reduced to ash. Another possible moral these stories taught was to conserve. It was the hunter's responsibility to not kill off more animals than necessary because it could put the tribe into a desperate situation where eating humans was the only way to survive. But the
Side note, have you guys seen that thing about, what is it, Yosemite and stuff, where they killed all the wolves and it like affected the entire ecosystem, and then they brought the wolves back and it like brought everything back to life and like changed how the rivers flow? Have you guys seen that shit? This is why when I say I have so much love and respect for the native peoples of this land, because they know the truth, they know the history, they know how to live with nature and other people. And that's not to say there weren't conflicts and whatnot, but like, if somebody was like, you have to live like a certain type of whatever, I would pick that, because like, that's how it should be. Europeans, white people, what is you doing?
Conceptions about Wendigos didn't start with the big screen, my friends. It actually all began with the first short story ever written about them. Authored in 1910 by Algernon Blackwood, whose name you might be interested to learn, was used in Until Dawn, which was set on Mount Blackwood. The story Algernon wrote, though, might be even scarier than the game.
Cat, do we need to worry about you, Cat?
Though, and I'm going to share it with you. So grab yourself a snack that doesn't contain human remains, then sit back, relax, and brace yourself for what's next. After a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp.
Yeah.
I know, that was kind of a dick move. You trying to join me?
Dude. I have questions and concerns about BetterHelp. Like, no.
This story follows a hunting party that ventures out into the wilderness of Canada in search of moose after a number of locals return from their own hunting expeditions, claiming that the usual hunting grounds were surprisingly devoid of any wildlife. Spoiler alert, this hunting party's journey into the wild would prove to be just as fruitless as everyone else's, but instead of meat, at least one of them would make it back with a hell of a story. So the group is made up of 4 individuals, Dr. Cathcart, his nephew Simpson, and their 2 guides, Hank Davis and Joseph DeFago, who had been friends for decades. They also had an indigenous friend with them. His name was Punk, and he was responsible for cooking and looking after the camp while the main group was out in search of prey. After spending a whole day in the wildlands without finding so much as a single moose track, the 4 men consider exploring the area on the other side of the lake they set up camp by. But one of them, Joe DeFago, is initially reluctant to this idea. He doesn't explain.
Kat, I'm going to DM you on Twitter after stream, hun. Okay. And Kat, do you have like a PayPal or a Cash App or anything? Because I can mod you and you can throw it in chat if you need help with groceries, hun. We're here. Okay, we got you.
Why, but it's obvious to the 3 other men that his whole demeanor changed after the idea was brought up. Regardless, he insists that he's not scared of anything in those damned woods and tells the 2 less experienced men, Doc and Simpson, to get some rest so they're ready for tomorrow's journey. Moving on ahead to the next morning, the hunters have already left camp by 8 a.m. Hank and Doc are following the trail that leads west, while DeFago and Simpson set out in a canoe headed east. And it's the second pair that we're following. As they traverse the 50 or so miles across the lake, we learn that this is Simpson's first ever hunting trip and that he knows concerningly little about getting by in the wilderness.
And keep in mind, hunting back then wasn't like, oh, I'm going out with the boys in my pickup truck for a couple of days. Like, they were out there for days. You had to survive, all that stuff. Okay, as long as you're good, Kat. Because if you ever need help, you let me know. Okay? We're here for you. We got you. We all know. We all love Kat. As long as you're good. I mean, I'm hungry too. I'm going to make one of my shrimp wonton soups with my chili crisp after this. So I had a grilled cheese earlier, but haven't been eating. That seafood boil fucked me up, yo.
So he is completely reliant on DeFago for navigating, hunting, and surviving. It's not a great position to be in, but the veteran hunter DeFago is an excellent guide. He educates Simpson as much as he can along the way, and when they hit their destination, he makes sure to explain.
I'm an idiot and I do get a cat, but I sincerely always just want to make sure you're okay because when I say I love you, I fucking mean it, girl.
How to get back to camp, just in case they get separated. So after spending yet another day unsuccessfully trying to find some moosies, the 2 set up their camp and have a pretty enjoyable night eating their rations, smoking tobacco, and singing ballads around the fire. When suddenly, in the middle of all this revelry, DeFago's voice drops down to barely more than a whisper, which on its own was enough to make Simpson freeze with fear. Then DeFago stood up, smelled the air, and pointed in the direction of their canoe. Simpson watches as...
So did he smell death? I can't. I don't want to be in the fucking woods. I hate this. I hate this. Oh, I hate this.
DeFago's eyes widen and the color leaves his face. He whispers to his guide, "Hey, is something wrong?" But once again, DeFago denies his fear of the wild and instead blames the song they were singing for bringing up bad memories. As you would imagine, DeFago denying his obvious moment of panic made the inexperienced Simpson even more paranoid. What could be out here that made the veteran outdoorsman so scared? Was it hostile natives, wild animals, a forest fire on the horizon? But since he wasn't going to get an answer, Simpson chalked up the expression of terror and paleness to a trick of the firelight and quietly laughed to himself about the funny story he'd have to tell when he got home. What Simpson didn't realize is that his laughter was a sign that fear was still lurking in the recesses of his soul, that it was merely a trick that the conventional man played on himself to convince himself that his fears were imagined. And just when Simpson started to settle down, DeFago asked him, "You haven't smelled anything unusual, have you?" And Simpson said no. Then, when he returned the same question, Defago denied it, once again blaming the song for getting him all riled up. After that bit of awkwardness,
I'm sure my friend and wifey Death smells absolutely lovely. She's a magical little fairy creature, and I love her to pieces. As far as the smell of death, like an actual decomposing, organic, carbon-based being, I've heard many an EMT, police officer, and mortician say it's a very distinct smell. As far as I know, I've never smelled it. And that once you smell it, like, you can always identify it, and it's like a sickly sweet smell. I don't know that I've never smelled it. But just yeah. I don't think I have, but yeah. I've heard a lot of people say once you smell it, you'll never forget it.
the two men went to sleep in their tent, making sure they stayed close together, both for warmth and for safety. It was only a few hours later when Simpson was roused awake. He could hear the sound of the wind, the lake's waves, and Defago crying to himself with a blanket pressed against his mouth to mask the sounds. Simpson reaches out for Defago to check on him, but no amount of shaking or talking is getting a response. Then he looks towards the tent's opening and notices something strange. Defago's feet were hanging outside in the freezing cold, as if something had tried to pull him out. Simpson is getting antsy, but his guide is still ignoring or can't hear his pleading for answers. So the inexperienced college boy has no choice but to bundle himself.
Oh, this makes me think of the Skinwalker, though, because I've seen videos where it's like, and it could be set up. I don't think it was. It's like some dude in the middle of a field looking all weird and is like, help me. I can't. Yeah, I only watched like the first 10 minutes of this. So this is my board hole. Oh, my board hole is clenched.
Himself up and try to go back to sleep. Try is the operative word here, though.
Where's my
Between the
taco?
weirdness around the campfire and waking
need
up to
my
Defago,
emotional
the
support
man
taco.
who was supposed to be protecting him, bawling his eyes out in the middle of
got
the
it.
night, Simpson couldn't make himself relax, and the events of the following morning only made his mental state worse. Because a few hours later, he was jolted awake by a violent movement. Defago was now
Dude.
physically shaking and huddled against Simpson for protection, trying to get away from the tent's opening as if something or someone was waiting for him just outside.
No. Thank you. Shout out Mick the Cornball for sending me this emotional support taco. When I tell you I am clutching this thing right now, emotional support tacos in chat. Oh my God. We need our cute little taco in chat. Okay. Oh, this is freaking me out. Because I believe in shit like this. Like, oh my God.
It was at this moment that Simpson heard a voice unlike any he had heard before. It was both rough and demanding, but also somewhat sweet, and it cried out three distinct notes. Before Simpson can even process what he heard, Defago jumps to his feet and bolts out of the tent, as if he has no control over his body. And then he cries out, "Oh, my feet of fire, my burning feet of fire! Oh, what great height and fiery speed!" And suddenly, Defago was gone, along with the noise. All that remained was that strange smell he must have been talking about the night before. Simpson tried to chase after his guide, but he was wildly unprepared and knew he'd have to gear up and eat some breakfast if he was going to do this right. So after devouring some bacon, which did clear up his mind a bit, he grabbed his rifle and began following the footprints of the man he prayed was still alive. And curiously, he saw there were animal tracks going in the same direction. Which animal they belonged to, he had no idea. Even stranger, a few miles into the journey, Simpson noticed that Defago's tracks were changing. Their stride was getting longer, growing to an inhuman length of 18 feet apart.
Okay. It's just a story. I'm in my house. It's just, do you know how many people I've lived in Reno for 25 years again? I'm at the base of Lake Tahoe. Beautiful, beautiful up there. Do you know how many people have been like, hey, girl, you want to go camping? We're going to drive up the side of Mount this or Mount that, or go up to a campsite in Tahoe or blah, 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 blah. Do you want to go with? And I'm like, no, I'm good. Thanks. No, I'm good. I'm good down here where there's no fucking forest. 18 feet. The prints, 18 feet apart. The average height of like 1 story, like if there's a 3-story building is what, 10 or 12 feet? 15? That. Okay. All right. We got this. We're good. We're good.
And the prints became larger and rounder, as if Defago's feet were transforming. But suddenly, the footprints stopped and the trail went cold. Simpson searched 100 yards in every direction and called out for Defago until his voice got hoarse. Then, out of nowhere, he heard Defago's voice calling out from above him, screaming about his fiery feet. Simpson continued his search for hours without luck, and as the sun began to set, he had no choice but to venture back to camp, alone and more paranoid than ever. In his mind, every cracking twig was the mysterious creature returning to attack him. Every gust of wind sounded like whispers coming from behind the trees. The whole journey back, he felt he was being watched, but he made it back to his camp just in time to get a fire going before the sun completely set. And he stayed by that fire all night, making sure it never came close to going out and never taking his rifle out of his hands. When the sun rose the next morning, he quickly...
Same. I would have no less than 500 rounds next to me. And I would have all 4 of my magazines because I have 2 that I carry with, and they're clips. They're not clips. Clips are for your hair. Ronapin. Their magazines are mags. I have 4. I have 2 that I carry. Like when I'm out and about. One's in the pew, one's in my pocket. And then I have 2 that I use for the range. I would have, and they each hold 18 rounds because Canic, great brand. If you haven't tried it, try it. I would. No. Yeah, I need to post. I went to the range on my birthday. I need to post my targets. I was a little sloppy because, like, I just wanted to go blow off steam, and I hadn't been in a while, and like I just wanted to get in there and like, because when I don't go, I start to have dreams that I go to pull my pew in a life or death situation, and like it gets stuck in my holster. I don't have it. And the most common thing is that it malfunctions and I can't fire it when I need to. And I start getting those like anxiety dreams when I don't go to the range enough. So I went and it was great. I got to see everybody. I love my range.
Set out for his home base, the campsite where the 4 hunters had left their best friend, Punk. Did I say best friend? There's nothing in this story to imply they're best friends. In fact, they're kind of addicted to the guy. Remembering Defago's guiding words for how to find their canoe and that their camp was due west, he paddled his way across the lake until the sun had once again set, leaving him in complete darkness, floating in the middle of the water. Lucky for Simpson, his uncle and his uncle's guide Hank had already returned and started a fire, and it was this little bit of flame miles away that became his North Star and led him to safety, at least for now. Simpson's canoe hit the shoreline at about midnight, and his cries for help woke up the rest of the hunting party with a start. They helped him get to his feet and then to the fire, and that's when he filled them in about the past 2 days' terrifying events. As you might expect, the other hunters were skeptical about his story and assumed that the intensity of the vast and lonely wilderness was affecting his mind, but they all agreed to try and track down Defago. First and foremost, though, Simpson needed some sleep, so his uncle injected...
Dude, lack of sleep will fuck you up. Like, you don't even realize. People will be like, I'm fine. No, it doesn't take much. Lack of sleep for it to affect you psychologically. So yeah, be real careful with that. And Diff, I love you, but that tells me you have no idea where I live and where Creek lives. We're literally across the country from each other. So I don't know about that.
Him with some morphine, and the young lad spent the next 6 hours sleeping like a drugged up baby. When Simpson wakes up, he leads his uncle and their other guide, Hank, across the lake back to he and Defago's camp, which looked to be untouched since the last time he was there.
Diff, we can meet in Denver because then you can see Little Boots.
Then they spent the entire day searching for Defago unsuccessfully, and they agreed to spend one more day searching before having to accept that their companion was gone for good. It's when the guys are resting at their campfire that Hank tells them about the Wendigo, but you'll notice his description hardly resembles the creature from Native.
And keep in mind, like, searching back then is not like how it was now. The forests were a lot denser. They didn't have any modern gear. And by gear, I mean like good boots, clothing in general. Definitely no electronic devices. Like, I can't imagine what it was like trying to search for somebody back in these times.
Native American lore. Instead of the condition being caused by cannibalism, he says the Wendigo is the call of the wild personified. The voice, they say, resembles all of the minor sounds of the bush: wind, falling water, cries of the animals, and so forth. And once the victim hears that, he's off for good, of course. His most vulnerable points, moreover, are said to be the feet and the eyes. The feet for the lust of wandering, and the eyes for the lust of beauty. The poor beggar goes...
Well, and don't forget, the eyes truly are the window to the soul. How many times have you met somebody and they have like welcoming, bright eyes? Or you look in your eyes and you look into a person's eyes, you can really get a feel for their energy and who and how they are. And trust what you get. Trust what you get. Don't be dismissing your natural intuition, we'll call it.
Such a dreadful speed that he bleeds beneath the eyes, and his feet burn till they drop off, and new ones form exactly like its own. And those paying attention will recall the transformation of Defago's footprints that Simpson had been tracking a few days before. After Hank explains all this, the doctor and his nephew are as silent as ever, pondering how long they have until the Wendigo sets its sight on them. Then, without any warning whatsoever, Hank stands up and screams as loud as he can. And as his hunting partners stared at him wide-eyed and mouths agape, another voice cried out from above. It was Defago, once again screaming those horrible words about his feet being on fire. Next came the sound of a heavy object falling through the trees and landing with a thud. Then they heard the sound of footsteps crunching in the snow. And just beyond the light of the campfire, a shadowy figure emerged, moving like it was controlled by wires. In an instant, the figure rushed towards Simpson like it was about to pounce on him. But instead, what Simpson saw was the face of Joe Defago closing in on him.
Here I am, Boss Simpson. I heard someone calling me.
But right away, the group could tell that while this thing may have looked like Joe, it wasn't really him. The skin on his face appeared to be loose and hanging, and they could smell the scent of that putrid odor that Simpson must have gotten whiffs of the few days before. It was almost like something was wearing Defago's face as a mask, but they were...
Okay. Do you see what I mean? The difference between like this and the or the similarity between like this and like a skinwalker. Why like your girl was confused, but now I know better. And I would like I'll stay in my house. I don't. I'll be here with my emotional support taco. I'm uncomfortable.
All too afraid to see what was underneath. Hank, who was clearly rattled.
Yes, Kate, you picked that up too, Kate. They changed those. They changed the illustrations to scary stories to tell in the dark because they were too scary for kids, even though like we all grew up with them in the 80s. But I managed to nab copies of the original illustrations before they changed. Fun fact.
The sight of his friend in this state, laid down in the tent at the doctor's suggestion, but he continued watching their visitor from a distance. And when this other Joe sat down, Hank cried out, "Oh God, look at his feet!" In the span of a few seconds, Simpson looked over and saw two round black masses where Joe's moccasins should have been. But before his eyes could really focus, Joe was tackled by the doctor, who tried to cover his legs up with a blanket. Then Joe, whose face had contorted into something truly monstrous, says, "Now you've seen it too. You've seen my fiery, burning feet." Hank tries to run after him, but the doctor tackles him to the ground, knowing that he would suffer the same fate as Joe if he were to step into the shadows.
Oh, God.
Less than a dozen seconds later, they hear the cries of their former guide off in the distance as it rose above their heads and died away. And suddenly, the world returned to normal. There was no stench and no sound apart from the crackle and smoke of the campfire, which Dr. Cathcart kept burning all night while Simpson and Hank slept in the tent to regain their sanity. When the
Thanks. I hate it. Oh my God.
sun rose the next morning, the group headed back toward their camp, all handling the situation a bit differently.
And this is like an actual story you can look up. Algernon Blackwood. It's by.
Hank, who's described as the most primitive of them, recovered the quickest, but he still didn't know what to make of what he saw. The doctor, who was the most civilized, never really did recover and had a hard time reconciling the night's events with what he thought he knew about the world. Then there was Simpson, who may have experienced the most trauma, but as
With what he thought he knew about the world. Maybe he would have had an easier time again, but he's a doctor, science, like, shout out to all my analytical mind peeps. Y'all got to open up to the other side. Possibility without proof. The world as he thought he knew it. Well, that right there fucking showed him the world isn't what you think it is. And there are things we are unaware of, we don't know about, we don't want to know about, but they're real and they exist. And that's just the way it is, man.
as the youngest and most spiritual of them, was also the most open-minded to the possibilities. He considered that whatever that thing was that possessed Joe must have been prehistoric, an evil presence that haunted the primeval world and somehow survived the advances of humanity.
Portals. It's portals.
But this story isn't over yet, because after the three men returned to their camp, there was no sign of Punk. Instead, laying there by the ashes of their campfire was Defago, or at least what was left of him. The poor man's mind had clearly been broken. He couldn't remember anything from the past few days or his life prior. On his face was no expression of any kind whatever, fear, welcome, or recognition. He did not seem to know who it was that embraced him, or who it was that fed, warmed, and spoke to him the words of comfort and relief. Forlorn and broken beyond all reach of human aid, the something that had constituted him individual had vanished forever. Barely coherent and speaking like an idiot child, author's words, not mine, Defago continued to complain about his burning feet. But this time his complaints made sense, because his feet were severely frostbitten. His eyes also appeared to have recently bled. The group had absolutely no idea how their friend had made it back to camp before them either, considering he had no...
I'm sorry if I came back and saw that motherfucker laying there after he like floated off or whatever into the dark the previous night before. I wouldn't be like, "What's up, bro?" and like offer a Coke and a smile. Like, sorry, not sorry.
canoe who had to have traveled over 100 miles around the lake on his feet. But they were relieved to see him again, even in this damaged state. But they still had no idea where Punk had gone. Well, it turns out that while he was tending the camp, waiting for the hunting party to return, he spotted Defago stumbling toward him. And as Punk approached to help, he caught a whiff of the same scent that had pervaded Joe since their trip began. The native knew right away what this scent was and immediately turned around to go home, completing this 3-day journey that only someone with indigenous blood running through their veins could have. The terror of his entire race is what drove him. He knew what it all meant. Joe Defago had seen the Wendigo. And I'm sad to report that only a few weeks after this incident, without a mind or soul left to inhabit his body, Joe Defago passed away.
Oh, yeah.
So I've thrown a lot of info at you today, but I want to
Look at his puppy. Oh, little baby.
answer one more question that's no doubt lingering in the back of some people's minds.
Ah.
Are Wendigos real? And the answer is kind of. But I want to emphasize that they definitely didn't exist in the form that movies, shows, books, or video games have shown them. It's not like someone ate human flesh and then turned into a 9-foot tall monster with antlers and claws. To reiterate, the transformation took place within, and any physical abnormalities were usually the result of malnourishment, which was
That's true. I'm going to use Niggs as an example. Look at him. Look at how much, and listen, I know a lot of it is the illicit and prescription drug use. Look at how much he has changed physically over the past year. He's aged 10 years in the past year and continues to do so from his environment, his momentals, my emotional stuff, whatever. Like, he's a perfect example. Yep. You can smear whatever on your face. If you're not emotionally, mentally, spiritually, energetically, whatever you want to fucking call it, right? It's going to show on the outside.
often what led to the consumption of human flesh in the first place. Not every time. There were some psychos out there like Swift Runner, who was the first man to be
Hi, Julie. It's good to see you. Hi. I love you.
legally hanged in Alberta, Canada, after authorities found out that he ate his wife and children.
Hey.
But in most scenarios, the perpetrators were in pretty bad health. Gray skin, gaunt, emaciated faces, the lingering smell of rotting meat. This is what happened to a starving person who resorted to eating people. In the sheer amount of desperation.
Well, and here's my question. Like, okay, so I know depending on, just like an animal, like a deer, an elk, a cow, a pig, a chicken, what that animal ingests is going to reflect in the meat you get from it, right? Like, you got to be careful eating like tuna. It's a deep sea fish. They're large. They live a long time. Like the whole lead, microplastic thing, whatever. So it depends on what is being consumed by whatever you're eating. Like, how much nutritional value? Questions you never thought you'd ask in life, let alone on a live stream. How much nutritional value is a human gonna have, especially if you're all sitting there starving? Things I never thought I'd fucking say. I mean, valid question though.
They felt, as well as the horror at their own actions, may have been what broke their minds, not evil spirits. But this steadfast belief in Wendigos, both by Native Americans and the Europeans who lived among them and claimed to have seen these creatures firsthand, led to the creation of the medical term Wendigo psychosis, which the American Psychological Association officially recognizes. Described as a severe culture-bound syndrome occurring among northern Algonquin Indians living in Canada and the northeastern United States. The syndrome is characterized by delusions of becoming possessed by a flesh-eating monster, the Wendigo, and is manifested in symptoms including depression, violence, a compulsive desire for human flesh, and sometimes actual.
Welcome in, Jarella. And yes, Frankenbeans is right. I am now on 4 different watch lists. Oh my God.
Cannibalism. Now, chances are there really were people who lost their mind or soul for one reason or another and resorted to cannibalism as a way to survive. And cases like this led to the birth of the Wendigo legend. But it wouldn't surprise me if there were desperate individuals who had heard these stories and felt their mental states declining into madness, who may have believed they were becoming Wendigos and started to act out the part.
Kate Winslet, chicken tendies are a perfect food that have perfect nutritional value. I will throw wings on that. Chicken tendies are perfect.
Creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. In other words, the belief in Wendigos may have caused the creation of more Wendigos. Now, I don't want that interpretation to be misconstrued as me delegitimizing Native American beliefs. In the words of Socrates, I only know that I know nothing. But in the modern world, where we have a much more advanced understanding of mental health, it seems like that could have been what happened. But I would love to hear your thoughts on this, mere mortals.
I love his dog. Look at his dog. His dog. He's got a little pugapoo in his. Oh my God, sir. I love your dog. Sorry, I'm distracted. You guys know how I am about dogs. Look at him. He's just chilling. Winston could never. He's psychotic.
Do you think that Wendigos were really the result of souls possessed by evil spirits? Or were they just desperate people who had lost their grasp on reality and morality? Let me know in a comment or by hitting me up on the socials. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram with the...
Yeah, okay, cool. Here's a fucking question. So, listen, the human psyche can be incredibly strong. The human resolve, the human character, all that stuff, right? Do we think sustained extreme conditions, whether you're in the middle of the forest and you're freezing and you're cold and you're starving, or you're like someplace real hot, and like have no water, you're sunburned, whatever, are extreme conditions versus illicit substances? I think the substances are going to be quicker, where like the conditions, it's going to take some time. But I think the long time with the extreme conditions would like break you down more and take you longer to recover if you do. I am thinking too much. Yeah, the dino nuggies. Yep. I like Kate. I mean, is that a valid question? What's the nutritional value of a human? Oh my God. Oh, so this was a lot. What do we think? How are we all doing? Everybody breathe. Clear your energy. Grab your emotional support tacos. Whatever that means to you. We're a very open channel here. Yep. Creek says, oh, wrong comment. Creek says, I'll stick to my beliefs and culture raisings that they are real and it's not just a lost touch of reality, not in all cases. I'm gonna agree with you, Greek, and I was not raised in your culture with your beliefs, but I've had enough experiences and I know well enough again to know there are things we are taught and led to believe, oh, that's not real. No, there's at least a grain of truth. And every folklore, every legend, every urban legend, every story, every tall tale, there is a grain of truth. What that grain of truth is, I think, is going to be determined by each individual person. And I'm going to err on the side of caution that, yeah, these are real. Just like I believe skinwalkers are real, which we will be talking about next week with my very special guest who's in chat. If you want to say it's you, you can say it's you. I'm very excited to have you up here. We're going to do a whole bunch of research this week. It's going to be, again, that's going to be an intense one. I will schedule it earlier, probably more like 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern, because that's like the final 6 weeks of spooky. Even though I'm still going to be here every Friday night talking about some weird ass shit because it's part of who I am. Oh, so what do we think? Oh, good point. Jarella, I love you. Jarella says experiences can be universal, only interpreted differently in different cultures. Same phenomena being experienced, but differently interpreted. Yeah, well, it's like, so one time my niece got upset about something. She was like 8 years old, very intelligent. She's on the spectrum, very intelligent. And I forget exactly what she was upset over, but I tried explaining, like, that was loud, that your friend didn't see things the way you see it. And so I love to use this analogy with people. Imagine it's you and the two people you love most in this world, and you're all standing in front of a painting that's like 15 feet long, right? One of you is at the left end, one of you is in the middle, one of you is in the right. You're all different heights. Like one's 5 feet, one's like 5 feet eight, whatever. You get what I'm saying. Even though you're all looking at the same painting, each one of you is going to see it in a different light because of where you're standing. You're going to notice different things in it. Your perspective on it is going to be completely different and individual to you, even though you're standing there together, all staring at the exact same thing. Keep that in mind with people and as you navigate through life. You can be with somebody and go through a haunted house. You're both going to have completely different experiences, even though you both just went through the same thing. Life lessons with Raven. I'm old now because I'm 45. I'm middle aged. I'm going to share my experiences. And keep in mind, again, I know I talk about a lot of like spiritual, paranormal, supernatural, esoteric things here. Again, I used to always say when I first started, I'm not here to convert or convince anybody. We're here to talk about some spooky stuff, have a good time. Everybody likes being scared. Have a conversation. Just be open to it. And again, I know there are some people that are more scientific and analytically minded about things. My brain doesn't work that way. I'm more of like the artsy creative side. But also, both sides need to keep in mind. We have been taught certain things are bullshit when they're not. We have been taught that science. No, science and the spiritual go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Science and the unseen, the unknown, whatever you want to call it, the supernatural, they go hand in hand. You cannot have one without the other. And there's a lot of shit we've been told, a lot of lies, a lot of things kept hidden from us. So just open-mindedness. This at the core of it is what Fridays are all about here. And I've done streams on things, look them up. I've done streams on the Tuskegee experiment. Just not a lot of people know about it. I did a whole ass stream on that one detailing it. Go back and look through my old streams. I will go in and make a playlist of like just my spooky stuff here in like the next week or so. I think I know how to do that. I'm sure I can figure it out. So that way, for anybody that wants to go back and just watch like the weird, spooky, creepy stuff, it'll just be all there in a playlist for you. And you don't have to go looking through because I think this is like my 102nd live stream on the channel. So I forget. I've been doing this for a minute now, and there's more to look through. Next week, next Friday, the final Friday of 6 weeks of Spoopy will be Skinwalkers. I'm gonna be here on Halloween night. We're gonna have a party celebration. We're just gonna hang out. If people want to come up, they can come up. It's gonna be a good time. I might see if I can get wifey up here with me. Good old Death, see what she's doing. It's gonna be a good time. I will be back here tomorrow, 12 p.m. I think I scheduled it for. I always do like 5s because I always need that extra 5 minutes. I believe it is. Let me check my channel. Yes. It is 12:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that's going to be 1 p.m. Mountain, 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do a little cow roundup. I'm going to talk about nags. We're going to dip in on a little bit of Chantal and Amber. And we're going to point and laugh at the fatties. It's going to be great. Oh, the Tuskegee stream is one of my favorites, and I feel so passionately about it. I highly recommend. Oh, is that the link to it? Oh my God. Thank you, Greek. You're the best. But yeah, I'll be back here tomorrow to talk about some fatties, and then I doth believe on Sunday, Ozma's gonna join me for some Chelsea Lee art because we are overdue for some CLA on this channel. So thank you to everybody who showed up in chat, everyone who is a member. I appreciate you guys so much. To my amazing moderators, Creek, you're the best. Who else do I want to thank? Replay gang. You guys make such a huge difference. I appreciate you so much. I know these streams and this topic doesn't get a lot of views and a lot of traction, but I absolutely love doing them. They're my favorite to do, and I love that we can have a conversation about some out there stuff, and I appreciate everybody for being so cool about it and just like, respectful and open to it. If you're not in my Discord, you're welcome to join my Discord. And I think most of you are, though, because the conversation can continue there. I'm going to go find something to eat. And I have some stuff to do before stream tomorrow. So thanks for showing up. This was a little more intense one, I think. And next week is definitely going to be intense because if you want to talk about something that absolutely freaks me out, skinwalkers, and not many things freak me out. Skinwalkers is one of them. And please feel free to send me suggestions of anything you want to see here on the Freaky Fridays, and I'll be happy to look into it and do a stream. All right, I'm going to quit babbling. I just like hanging out with you guys. Thank you so much for being here, and shout out. I didn't say it in the beginning of stream, but thank you to everybody that showed up for my birthday stream on Sunday. I appreciate you so much. And yeah, I will be back here tomorrow. Stream's already scheduled. Please turn your notifications on. Leave a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Share me with your friends. And yeah, thanks for being such an awesome community. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye.